For the ones who joined later, for the ones who joined later, we are just waiting till 3:05 or maybe 3:10 so that we get more people and I'm not disturbed by admitting them. We'll start the session in a few minutes. Until then, if you have any doubts, you can ask. Uh, Yeah, so the previous recording will be uploaded by NPTEL itself. I have submitted it to them and they will send you an announcement regarding the same. With the slides as well, the recording and the slides. So I shared the links in the last session where Professor Kumaraguru's team is working on a few things. You can maybe go through these papers and I'll share the link again. So you can find latest work in this area, the publications that they have been doing. Yes, the session is focused on the week two content. And if you have any doubts regarding the first week assignment. I think we can start. I don't see a lot of people joining anymore. So I'll just go through what the topics were last week. in the first week's assignment or first week's material. So we had an introduction about um, the increase in the use of social media and why this course is needed. We talked about what is privacy, what is security, and why we need to apply this in social media in today's age. Then we talked about 6 degrees of separation, the strength of weak ties, the 4 Bs, the social media in real life, basically the use cases that have given us positives and negatives of using it. We discussed that. You can find the recording soon. I think NPTEL will upload that very soon with the slides, the annotated slides that I discussed during the session. And if you have any doubts regarding the assignment or any installation problem that you face during um, trying to set up Ubuntu or Python or GitHub, you can ask now because you have to use all of that in week 2, and if you don't have that right now, it can be a problem later. I'll wait for like 2 minutes. If you have any problems regarding week 1, please ask now because we can still see questions regarding the installation in the discussion forum. So it will be better if you discuss those right now so that we can see what the problems are and we can help you with them. I think you don't have any problems. I'm hoping there won't be any doubts regarding this in the discussion forum now. So we will move on to what we cover in week 2. So I'll just briefly go through what has been discussed in week 2, and I'll not go in depth in everything. I will maybe discuss a few things that I thought were important and you could give more attention when you're one second. Yeah, when you're reading these topics. Otherwise, if you have any doubts in between, you can just raise your hand or unmute yourself and let me know. So, yeah, I'll start. So, right, last time we stopped with discussing real life cases where the social media had some positive aspects and some negative aspects. So positive aspects were where people could complain on Twitter regarding railway concerns or a child was lost, so somebody could just post that on social media, and the railway authorities try to solve that as soon as possible and could help them in real time. So basically, the reach increases when you're using social media, but there were negative aspects as well because there were fake news out there, and people were being manipulated. People were being falsely noticed about disasters which did not happen. Whenever for example, in case of the hurricane floods, there was a fake news that, one second, I think I have a question for you that later I will not discuss that right now. But yeah, so there was a lot of fake news, and what we want to do is we want to avoid misinformation, the spreading of misinformation. So we will try to analyze, we will try to see how the social media organizations find out what the misinformation is, what are the fake accounts, what are the fake users, what is the fake message, what are the fake messages that are being spread across, and we'll try to see how they do that. Mm. The first step would be to collect the data that is already been present. We want to, this is like looking at all the data and looking for outliers. The outliers in this case would be misinformation. So we want to see, so the first step would be to collect all the. Yeah. So the first step would be to collect all the data, to collect one specific to collect data from one specific social media. We can have different ways to do that. The first way is a simple search, or a simple Google search. Yeah. So a simple Google search would give you existing databases. The examples of some existing databases would be Kaggle databases. So Kaggle is basically a website where machine learning or data science competitions happen. So basically, they give you a few data sets, and then you have to train your models on it to complete one specific problem, one specific competition. So they generally have some curated databases, and you have to train your model on those databases. So you can always find related databases on Kaggle which are already present there, or you could just search Google Scholar or UCS Machine Learning Repository is another example where they have different projects that they're working on, and they have made the database, the data sets available to everybody. One second. Yes. So that is one of the very famous database, data repositories, and they have like different types of data sets. Like they have cognitive data sets. They have, you know, like research papers and their data sets, and they have network level databases. So they have different kinds of projects that they're working on, and they've made all the data sets public. So that's a very nice repository that you can use. Then another would be the link that I just shared in the chat, where Professor Kumaraguru's research team has also um, made the data sets public. You can access that also. So that is like the first option that you have to analyze data. Now we'll see how we ourselves can, collect data and then process it or analyze it. So the second option is APIs. Yeah. So these are application programming interfaces, where this is basically a software which helps you get data from the server. Server is the server that has data regarding Twitter or Facebook or Instagram. Basically, any so this is Instagram. So this is the server side, and you being the client will request for will send a request. To send this request, you need an API. Okay, and the response that you get is in form of JSON and XML. Yeah, so I am hoping that you guys have seen like some part of the lectures because it's like just three lectures, and I'm hoping that you've gone through it and that you can answer this question. So we've got like 20 people. Yeah. So does somebody want to try? Does anybody want to try? 318. I'll wait till 320. If you want to unmute yourself and give the answer, you can do that. You want to put it in the chat, you can do that. To respond, then I'll have to ask people. The third is correct. Okay. So you think only one option is correct, or are you saying this that three is correct? I don't know about the rest. Okay. Four is also correct. Okay. Vinay, would you like to explain why you think three and four is correct? Maybe then, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. API actually stands for Application Programming Interface, right?
Yes.
So it allows you to communicate with other set of applications.
Okay.
So APIs are basically designed to communicate over web. So you need to comply with HTTP protocol. So that's the reason why answer three is correct.
Okay.
And HTTP, the APIs, the REST APIs will allow you to actually communicate with DB as well in terms of retrieving the data and so on. So most of the times IoT kind of applications where you are data driven, you actually make use of APIs to update and retrieve better data and so on. So that's the
Okay.
reason.
Yeah, you're right. R. Goyal, can you tell me why second option is also correct? Why you think second is correct?
Second, I have not said this correct.
So
Second is
asking R. Goyal, I think, I don't know who he or she is, has said that second, third, and fourth, all three are correct. So maybe you can tell your perspective.
So I do not know that whether APIs are primarily meant for the to access the data from the web applications or it could be any application. So my viewpoint is that API is basically the set of the rules, is a set of the protocols only to retrieve the information. So if it is only meant for the to retrieve the information from the web application, then three and four are correct. Otherwise, two is also.
Yeah. Does anybody want to comment, or shall I just tell the answer now? So yeah, our goal is correct, and all three options are correct. So APIs are not just for websites, and in general, any application that is out there, you can use APIs to interact with that application as a client. So all three options are correct. Now we can go to, yeah. So in the lectures of this week, you can see that the professor discusses the different databases that are used to store the data that we retrieved using the APIs. So the REST API that is used in the tutorial is Pro, and it is for Reddit data. Yeah, Reddit data, and the databases that have been discussed in the lectures are MongoDB, and MySQL, PHP is actually like a virtual interface that you can see, and MongoDB and discussed. I think CouchDB is also a type of database. So all of these have different. One second. Not paid. Some are paid, some are not paid. You can use the free one, but every social media like has three APIs that you can use right now. As in like to collect data and then analyze it. Some make it like for their internal software and all of that, and they are paid, but there are open source APIs present as well. Free API is also present. So yeah, right now I'm not going to like discuss every database that is present and different APIs that are present because they are quite exhaustively discussed in the lectures. But if you have any doubts regarding those APIs or anything that is in the lecture, you can ask. Or if not in this session, you can ask them in the next session to me or to Anand. I think has a live session on Tuesday. But yeah, I just browse through all the topics that have been discussed. If at any point you think that I don't know this or something specific that you want to learn, we can discuss that. So graph APIs. So what graph APIs are is they are actually designed for networks that are in the form of a graph. So what social media networks look like are graphs where users and there are some connections between the users. So it kind of forms a graph, and that is why the data that is being retrieved um, is also in form of JSON, where you can have nested attributes, because we never know what is being stored, as in what will be the length of the connections, or what will be the length of the chain of connections that we are having, and hence graph APIs are a very nice way to represent social media networks. So we again have slides where we are discussing what is stored at the nodes. We can also have like tweets or posts as nodes, and then who has shared it, who has actually created it. So the nodes will have like different features, and then there will be connections according to those features, different features. Yeah, so as we discussed in the initial part of the lecture, that misinformation is the negative aspect of social media, and we actually want to decrease that, because that is the only negative aspect, I think. Not the only thing, but one of a very mm, very important or very prevalent negative aspect of social media, and we want to distinguish between fake news and real news. So yeah, now I need you guys to tell me what is the answer for this question. This was discussed in week 1 also and week 2 also. So you should know this answer. You can put your answers in the chat. Anybody else? Want to think about this maybe? Okay, can Akshat or maybe senior computer education explain what the case study was? Can one of you maybe unmute yourself? Akshat? Nobody wants to unmute themselves. Hurricane Sandy is the answer, is the correct answer. Okay, then if you're not answering, maybe you can find the answer in the lectures yourself. Akshat has left the meeting, no problem. Okay, so next question. Boston Blast happened on 15th April 2013. Is this statement true or false? Yeah, I don't see a lot of answers, but yeah, this statement is actually true. The Boston Blast happened on 15th April 2013. Yes. So this was basically a refresher that there are a lot of misinformations out there. And to see if you guys have seen the lectures, and I don't think a lot of you have, or you do not want to answer, we'll just move ahead. So one of the patterns that was like observed while misinformation was being spread is that um, the frequency was very high and it kind of decreased with the number of hours. Uh, this may be the minutes after the disaster took place, maybe. Disaster or some accident or basically any event. So what was the trend that was observed? That as soon as some event happened, some major event happened in any where across the world, the number of fake accounts, the number of fake tweets or posts or whatever, basically the misinformation that was being produced was at its peak whenever some major event had happened. So this is one of the features that had to be kept in mind when fake events were being um, yeah. So the method to find fake misinformation can be like broadly classified into these steps. The first one is data collection and filtering. Like I said, that you need a data set from which you want to analyze some patterns. So the data set that is being discussed in the tutorial is from Reddit. So we collect some Reddit posts, some set of Reddit posts. Then we see then we characterize the data. So characterization is basically to form like features, say age or so in general, say if you have a data of students in a class, the features would be the gender of the students, the height of the students, the courses that they have taken, of course the name of the students, the ID of the students. So these are all the features that are basically used to characterize each data point in the data set. So similarly, um yeah, so the APIs actually take care of this part. They fetch the data from the server and they have like different features like say the number of reposts, the original owner of the post, then number of reposts and the length of the post, then what else? The number of emojis that are used in the post. So there are a lot of features that are associated with one tweet or one post or one story or whatever social media that you're using. And similarly, every user account also has a few features like the number of features would be connections. Okay, let's like keep it like this. Number of followers, number of people they follow, basically follower, following, then when was it created. So if you open any social media, you'll have this basic information. Maybe sometimes the bio is there, the age, the location. So there are different features associated with every node. Here the node is user features. In this case, the node is the content itself. Depends on what we are trying to categorize, classify. So the next step would be feature generation. So once we like have these different once we have all of these features, now we want to know which features are important. I mean, not every feature is useful to know about to analyze the data. So length of the post may or may not be that important. It may be important in some case. It may be important in some cases. It may not be that important in some cases. user features may or may not be important in some cases. So a very important feature in this case would be the time at which it was created. So we basically need to figure out what is important, what is not, and maybe sets of information can also be important. So once the time of creation and the repose, a correlation between these two might be a very nice important feature to classify this as a fake or not fake information. So we need to make those kind of relations in this step. And ground truth. Obtaining this ground truth is basically to tell the model what it has to look for. Basically, some base training. So, in the language of machine learning, this is basically the training data set, where you're telling the model that see, you have to see these kinds of correlations, you have to see these kinds of tweets and say that, okay, if you see a post of this kind of, say, kind A, you have to report it as false. If you see a post of kind B, you have to report it as true. So you have to give it some base cases. So this is generally done manually and also done using annotations. So this is very elaborately explained in the lectures, but I'll just go through it very quickly. So users are given options who are in real time to get their input on the data basically. So if a group of people tell you that okay, these are the number of fake news that are already there, and then these are the real news, real number of tweets or posts, and these are the number of fake posts. So this data set is generally created by a few media companies or a few scientists who are enthusiastic about enthusiastic about the analysis that is going to be made on this data set. So they start with a few base cases, they make the few base cases, and then on a larger data which has not been classified yet is then classified using the model that has been trained on the training data, and then it is evaluated using different methods. One example would be this architecture. This is how Twitter finds out if some tweet is real or fake. Let's start with each component. So the first was data collection and filtering and data characterization. As I said, APIs do all of this. It takes the raw data from the server and characterizes it according to the different features. So the Trend API so this is just an example and one use case. One use case of how information is being classified. Classified. And in this case, Trends API is used, which takes around top 50 trending tweets. Then the streaming API. So the difference between a REST API and a streaming API is that a streaming API queries the server and then stores it in the database in the format that we want, in a persistent storage. So we've covered what the data collection and data characterization part. So now we have the top 10 to top 50 tweets or whatever. I think we can change the parameters in the trends API and we can collect more. Basically, it like gives you the most trending tweets at the server right now, and then it stores it. The streaming API queries all of this and stores it in a persistent storage. In this case, it's the Twitter database. Then yeah, so now comes the feature generation part and obtaining the ground truth. Yeah, human annotation is one way where real-time users are one minute. Let me think. Yeah. So I think a very good example was given in the lectures where when you're browsing the internet or that one particular website, you're given a notification that saying, okay, so this tweet is most probably a fake news by the probability of 5 out of 10. So basically, it's just a rank that is given to a tweet saying that okay, we are rating it 5 out of 10, and that is what our model thinks. If you agree, you can say yes, or if not, you can say no. If you say no, they give you an example. They give you an option to rate it yourself. You can say that okay, I think it is 3 out of 10 or maybe 10 out of 10. I believe that it's a real news and I want to give it more rank. So basically, you're getting human input on the news or the tweet, whatever. That is one way of collecting more information about it. So you're saying yes to what, Vijay Lakshmi?
I think she is referring to 3 by 10 the rating.
It's actually just giving an example where a user can look at the news and then themselves decide if it's a fake news or a real news. So I didn't give an example here to rate, but in general, yeah, that is what users have to do. They have to choose a rating. And in general, as we know that the API has features and relation between them. Now what this this correlation variable is used. This is actually a statistical method, and it tries to see how good the annotation has been done. Basically, it tries to measure if the correlation between the features is good or not. I think I had. Alpha is calculated like this. N is the number of records that we have. Sorry. Yeah, the number of items that we have, records that we have. Then C is the mean covariance between the items. Then this is the variance in one particular item. Basically, the different values of that particular item. Um, Items means features here, okay? So we are trying to see which feature is important, which feature is not. Yeah, I've discussed C. The mean variance of all the records in the features. Yeah. So using this formula, yeah, covariance can be calculated like this. For example, say if you have four features and you want to calculate the covariance between them. So this is basically the formula. This is the first value, the value for the first feature in the first record. So every record will have F1, F2, F3, F4, value for F1, F2, F3, F4, and this will be the value of F1, second will be F2, F3, F4, and so on. And this is the mean of F1. This is for F2 and so on. And we have to get the summation of all the records and then divide it with the number of features that we have. We get the covariance in this way, and variance of one particular feature can be calculated using this method. You can find these formulas online. In general, if you have a doubt, you can. You do not need to actually solve it manually. There are statistical tools to get all of this, but I just wanted you to know why alpha is being used. We basically want to see which feature is important, which feature is not. If, for example, say there were four features, and the alpha that we got was, we had F1, F2, F3, F4, and the alpha that we got was 0.774, okay, maybe anything. Then I don't know how important F4 was. I personally thought that only F1, F2, F3 were important. So I just took these three and just wanted to check how the correlation was. And I somehow got something like, say, 0.9. So this indicates that there is a stronger correlation between these three. And when we add F4 to this, the relation decreases, the correlation decreases. So this is suggesting that F4 may not be an important feature. So alpha kind of gives you that idea. We'll go back to our presentation here. Yeah. So Cronbach alpha is used to see which features are important, which features are not, if the correlation that has been offered is good or not. From the annotated tweets, okay. So now there were a lot of tweets. Now annotated tweets were lesser because we have some ranking by the users or the users or some other database, some media house has, given out that these are the fake news, these are the real news. Now we have a smaller data set. We have the features by this API. We have now the smaller data set is what the training data set in machine learning language. But yeah, I explained what training data set is, right? So this is the truth that we know, and now we are training the model. The learning is model training, which is then used to classify the data in general, all the data that we had with features and all of that. So we have that is given to a model. It is classified as fake or real. If not fake or real, it can be ranked according to the level of not trustworthiness of that tweet. Like here we had a scale of 1 to 10, we can have that ranking as well. So the model that has been trained can be done using different machine learning models. Two of them were discussed in the lectures. One was naive Bayes. Actually not discussed, it was mentioned in it. Naive Bayes classification and decision trees. What we saw in one of the examples was that this gave better results. How do you know that the model was good enough or it learned very well? So you have test data as well. Okay, I'll have to take some examples now. Here we have 50 data points. So we want to train the model, training data set. And test data set. So, using a training data set, the model learns some pattern in the data and gives a formula, say fx or something. It has some relation between every feature, and when we give some input to it, it classifies you as class 1 or class 2. Okay. So this fx is calculated using different methods. So naive Bayes is one of them and decision trees is one of them. When some input is given, this is the test data. Some input from the test data is given, it is classified into 1 and 2. And then if so the class 1 and 2, if it is correct or not, is based on the training data set. We'll check if the model was intelligent enough to say if this was correct or not. If it was not, it will kind of give a feedback to the model and the model will learn again. So this is all a learning, it will go in different iterations so that the model is, more intelligent in every iteration basically. That is how machine learning works. I'm trying to make it as simple as possible. I don't know if you can understand it, but that is how machine learning works. And the fivefold validation that is mentioned in the lectures basically has different data. So this is where basically distinguishes that training and test data. This is the validation. So all of this is basically used just to refine the model in every iteration. Uh, 5 folds basically means that you're doing it in 5 iterations. This is distributed in 5 parts, and then it is done in like an iterative model to refine the model as much as possible. These two methods are for classification. That is, like, you have two classes here, fake or real. But if you want something where you want to rank the content, the tweet or the post, then you need more complicated machine learning models, like one that this algorithm suggests is rank SVM. SVMs are support vector machines. I'm not going to go in deep about that. If you want some resources where you want to learn it, we can share that. But what it does is kind of represents the data on axes. And it distinguishes the different data points based on the distance from this axis. So basically, the SVM, the support vector machine, finds this axis which differentiates the two classes. It is also one of so SVM is used for classification only. But what we want is different classes. So rather than just one, we'll try to have other correlations between them. There will be more data. We try to classify all of it and rank it in some sense. So this will be given rank 1, rank 2, rank 3, and rank 4. So this to rank this evaluation method is used. NDCG at one particular end basically means like how is the hierarchy starting, or on at what basis is this ranking done. So that is the evaluation method. We do not need that for this course, but I'm just giving you an overview of why these components that were mentioned in the architecture are used, what is their function, and the basic naive Bayes and decision tree just classifies them into classes, like particular classes, say fake or real, and SVM also does the same. It classifies them into classes, but rank SVM takes some kind of hierarchy in the classification that it does, so that we have different ranks for the data, for the tweets or the news, the posts. So I think that is what I wanted to cover in this lecture, or this session, not even lecture. Yeah, you can ask me anything now. We started with 23 and we have 13, we have 12 people now, including me and another TA, so it's just 10 of us. Better add that. Okay. If you guys don't have questions, I will have to ask questions. Okay, I will not ask questions. You do not have to leave the meeting.
So are you guys on board with Gayatri? Yes, no.
Ma'am, I had a doubt.
Yes, yes.
Ma'am, actually, this is my first session over here. So the question you discussed in the start of session, the flood incident and all, ma'am, in which session it was covered? I have no idea about it. I didn't find it in the videos which were uploaded there.
The Hurricane Sandy? Yeah, I think
Ma'am,
it
yes.
was mentioned in one of the case studies. First
Oh,
week, second
okay.
week, I think it was discussed once or twice. Maybe am I right? I think it was a famous enough case study that was discussed in the course lectures.
Yeah, it's Boston Blast, Sandy, Hurricane Sandy. These have mentioned multiple times in the lecture. So you can check for the week one properly and week two as well. So these incidents pop up whenever we talk about the Twitter API, Twitter, how does the events happen on the Twitter. And because it is a misinformation, so misinformation I think is more week two relevant. So you can easily find out in the week two.
Okay, ma'am.
Any other doubts? Yeah. Do we need to pay any amount to use any social media API? There are free APIs available, and the Reddit one that is used in the tutorial is free. I don't think you have to pay for it. And there was a very recent one, I don't remember the name, but that um, it can be used for different social media also, and I think it is open source. Yeah, if you do a Google search, you will get different APIs that can be used. Reddit is used in the tutorials that are mentioned in week 2.
Oh, even if like Twitter recently started charging for some API calls, I think still we can apply for academic Twitter API. So you can apply for that also. And there is another libraries besides API like Quark, Quinn, which helps in collection of the data from the social media, Twitter. Do anyone have any doubts regarding the assignments? How are you finding assignments? Easy, difficult, very difficult, or you have not seen it at all?
I think I asked this question in the
Okay.
beginning also, but they did not answer. They did not have any doubts regarding the installation also.
Are we going to use ML? Anil is asking, are we going to use ML on social media data in future? We are using it. Why in future? I think till week two also machine learning is being used on the social media data. It has already been. Does it answer your question, Anil, or you are trying to ask something else?
Any other questions? Okay. So there were a lot of questions regarding the installation in the forum, and has everybody been able to do that? Are there still any questions?
Yes, no. This is highly interactive session, so would
There is no.
be you will respond and
Yeah, so the third option was Selenium, like I showed in the first slide. Yeah, you can use Selenium. It basically uses a default browser, or any browser that you can mention the browser that you want to use, and it makes the request as a browser from your end and collects the data and gives you some response. Gives you the response in some format. You can then have like different functions to access the data and use it. Does that answer the question or? Okay. Any other questions? Do you have any feedback about these sessions? Do you want to do something else? Do you want to discuss something else in this session? Maybe you can tell us that. Would you prefer like doing the tutorial hands-on during these sessions? Tutorials that were discussed, maybe some other examples for the same thing. You can try doing that from the next session. I think we select proper ML model based on the data. You can look at the previous literature, or if you want to actually do something new, you have to try different models. You have to tweak the different models. You have to, if you're really interested in machine learning, you have to like come up with models uh, and train them. So if you want to make the model more optimized, then you have to look at the different features. You have to filter the features such that the model is optimized. You have to give different weights to the model. Basically, you have to rerun the model and change the model hundreds of times to make it more optimized. So, if you're interested in ML, you can do that. And to know which model is suitable, you maybe the basic model that you want to start with, you can look at the previous literature of the types of uh, data that you have, and then compare which model you would want to use. Maybe you would want to add something to this?
I think that we almost covered a lot of steps to identify this model. Just one thing that I would like to add is that you can, the only way to choose the algorithm is more of the data, as she mentioned, and there are multiple ways to visualize the data as well. So let's say if you have a linear data or non-linear distribution of the data, so look at the distribution of the data. So knowing about the data, then you can choose the algorithm. So let's say for an example, linear regression. So as the name suggests, linear regression. So it would be mostly able to handle linear. kind of data. May not be able to handle more complex non-linear distributions in the space. So that's how trying with different complexity of the data and algorithms, you eventually with your experience get to know that which algorithm we need to try this out for the data. Please ask more questions or come up with your doubts as well so that we also get challenged to solve your doubts. Also to add that these 2 hour sessions, these are very good opportunity besides online lectures that give you a more in-depth intuition of the concepts, and you can delve more into the deeper into beyond the lectures as well, and then can come up with something that you tried, let's say tried API data collection and all, come up with the errors. This is what we tried from the week 2. Go beyond that, ask us questions. It would be very, very useful to you, and I would take maximum advantage of this session, because otherwise these static questions we can answer over the discussion forum. This lecture is more interactive. We want to understand something. We studied entire week and have so much doubts. Yeah. Can you explain more about the Graph API and REST API? Okay. So the basic definition difference, uh, what I am aware of is Graph API. I am assuming we are referring to this basic Graph API.
Yeah, I think Graph API is a subset of this, and basically depends on the data that you're getting. If the data that you're getting is in form of graphs, then it's a Graph API. That is what I understand from this. Am I right? Maybe any idea?
Sorry, I lost you for a while. Did you ask?
Yeah, what I said is Graph API is kind of like a subset of this REST API, and it basically is the type of information that we're getting. If the network
Yeah.
that we get as a result is in form of a graph, then it's a Graph API. That's what I understand.
Yeah, right. That's what my understanding as well. That's the kind of request for the queries when you hit the graph type of data comes, and REST is mostly HTTP based request response API. So that's matlab, the difference is mostly on the architecture level, the way architecture is.
How network looks, the network, the data that we get is in form of graphs, and that is pretty well explained in the lectures. I think the difference is just the data that you, if it's not even difference, I think it's the like a subset of that, and it just is one of the subsets where the data that we get is for network in form of a graph. Nodes and the connections and repos, posts, whatever the basic feature for that data set is, or that view of the graph is. Does that answer your question? Or is there anything specific that you want to know in this? Hello? Am I audible? Yeah.
Yeah, I can hear you. Participants participating.
So, does that not answer your question, or you don't have any further questions on it?
So how many of you have started with the assignment?
Yeah, that's a nice question. How many of you have gone through the lectures?
Type in the chat yes, no, +1, -1 if you are not able to speak. I think you can type in the chat. Week 1 done for Siddharth. So many saying yes. I don't know what yes for assignment or the lecture.
I think both of them.
Yeah.
We're hoping both of them. Okay.
And yeah, lecture.
How
Prepare
do you
complete
like the lectures, Soumya?
week 1.
Interesting. Totally understandable, okay.
And how about assignments? Are they relevant to the lecture? Easy, difficult?
Do you want more difficult questions, or
Yeah.
are they good enough? Start again, you should okay.
Okay. I think no one has done assignments yet.
Hmm. Okay. We've done the assignments good. I cannot say better, but I agree that the course is very interesting. I find it very interesting, the analysis, the outcomes that we get, and we get to do hands-on tutorials ourselves. So, there's theory as well as practical in the same week. So, I enjoyed this course as well. Any suggestions what you want from these sessions, maybe from the next time, or whatever is going on is fine with you.
Yeah. And also we are quite, I think Gayatri is quite open to, we are very much open to if you want to suggest some concept or specifically the topic. that you did not understood or maybe want understood already but want more in-depth
Yeah.
discussion on that particular topic, feel free to reach out to us or post on a discussion from these are the topics that we want.
Exactly. You can maybe put that on the discussion forum that these are the topics that we want you to elaborate. We can prepare beforehand and have good discussions on those topics. And then once recap this week one session. Yeah, I actually uh, discussed all of these topics very briefly in week one, and we solved a few doubts about the installation problems, errors that people were having, and maybe a few of them asked about where they could find papers related to this area, research papers, and I shared a link in this session as well, so you can go through that. I think that is what we did in week one, and the recordings would be shared with you very soon. Does that answer your question? Anything else? Am I audible? Word installation. The installation of VirtualBox, then Ubuntu ONX, then Python and GitHub. So some people had problems with that, and we helped them with their problems. Yeah, I think there were only two or three of them who had problems. Other than that, everybody was able to install everything that was needed. If anybody still has a problem, this is the right time to ask. Any other question? Does anybody want to introduce themselves, tell us why they've taken this course, does it meet your expectations?
Okay, how many of you understood the today's lecture?
Yeah.
We'll start
For
asking.
this session itself.
We'll start asking questions. What what did Gayatri thought about?
I think they will also run away if you ask questions. But do you guys understand what I was trying to convey, or do I have to be more articulate about anything, or do you need these sessions, or do you prefer hands-on sessions rather than discussing the lectures? The recording will be shared with you soon. Yeah, I kind of went through all the topics that were discussed in week 2, and I explained the terms that were just mentioned and not really discussed very briefly in the sessions, because this is not very, it's not actually useful for this course, but in general to get a better idea about the architecture that is used for uh, analyzing the social media data. I tried to cover some topics of it. Maybe once you go through the recording, you can ask those questions in the next session or even in the discussion forum. Yeah, I think that would be like better if you actually know what has happened in the lecture, so that we can just discuss that what has not been discussed or maybe your doubts. That will be nice. But you still have an option like on Tuesday. I think Anand will be taking lectures, and you can maybe discuss your doubts with him. The Bhava, I think you can find the recordings. And like I was just saying, um, I mostly just went through all the topics that were discussed in brief, and a few things that could have been elaborated. I just mentioned them, and um, no one admitted me in Tuesday's session. Yeah, so he is strict with that, and if you do not enter at within 15 minutes, he won't let you inside the session. But we will try to make it more easier for everybody by adding everybody into the meet itself, their email IDs. If not, try to be on time and within 15 minutes, so that it is not difficult for us to teach as well as admit you in the at the same time. It's a little difficult to manage both of them parallelly. I think, yeah. He did not admit anybody after 15 minutes. That's what I have heard.
Because it's difficult for the TA as well to look at the edit window and at the same time taking your doubts as well. But Siddharth, anyways, you can look at the recording you missed, and after looking at the recording, if you have some doubts, then you can again come
Right, yeah.
back. Is that okay, Siddharth?
Actually, the thing is that I have another lecture on Tuesday, so the course timing tends to clash. So I waited for an hour there, but no one admitted me, so I just left the meeting and went to another class. So I wanted to know, ma'am, whether the same content will be discussed in both the classes, or I can take one to clear my doubts and all.
No, so these are the different sessions, so totally different content.
Okay.
So you can see the recording.
It's week 1 only, and I don't know what he has discussed, but it may have different doubts. So maybe going through the recordings would be a better option. And if you still have doubts, you can always put that on the discussion forum, and we'll be happy to answer. Is that fine? Maybe Shweta, I think that will be same for you. If you cannot attend, maybe you can look at the recordings and put your doubts later. Ask your doubts either to me, to Anant on some other day, or the discussion forum.
Okay, it seems like Tuesday session we can. If many of them have problem on Tuesday, we can propose new timing.
Yeah, maybe we can discuss with him and try to do that.
I think these are the evening timings. No, Shweta is saying that she's in the college on Tuesday. I'm not sure, because these are the evening timings, I think. That's why we have kept it after the college hours or office hours
Exactly.
to avoid any kind of clash.
Yes,
So
the recordings will be shared with you by the NPTEL team. We have submitted it to them, and they'll like give like announce it on the web page itself, the course page itself. Maybe you can just wait for the recordings or ask your doubts in the discussion session. Because getting a time that would suit everybody and including me is a little difficult. So maybe you can join a bit later. I am fine with admitting people later, but yeah, for the session, for the material that is being discussed, you can go to the recording. Other doubts? So the questions would be have been objective till now, but it will depend on the professor. They may change the pattern for this time. Till now, it's been objective, and they can be MCQs or MSQs also. So we submitted the slides to them and they'll share both of it, the slides as well as the recordings. And I submitted the annotated slides so that it is more like readable. Is there anything else that you guys would want to discuss? I tried to add a few questions this time. You didn't have doubts regarding the first assignment, that's nice, so we do need to assess that. Given last session, I gave you an assignment. I didn't understand your question. I did not understand your question. Could you elaborate or maybe unmute yourself? No, I didn't attend the last session. I did not give any assignment. We just discussed the topics of for first week. And what I meant was the week one assignment. If you have any doubts regarding that, you can ask now. Now that the answers are out, as the deadline is passed, if you have any doubts regarding that, we can discuss them now. Or if you have any doubts regarding week two, we can maybe discuss how to approach that problem.
Do anyone want to take any installation related doubts? Any hands-on session?
I already did second assignment.
Shweta, how did you find the assignment? Good. Okay. I don't know what is good, but
Do you want more difficult questions from next time, or is this fine?
more advanced ones. Siddharth is saying we are fine. when solving problems, little bit difficult, otherwise
Problem.
I like referring to assignments that I actually
You're not audible. Your voice is
Can you
breaking a
hear
lot.
me now?
Yeah, it's better.
I I speculate that she's referring to assignments that while solving problems, it is difficult otherwise. Uh, but yeah, solving these kind of problems will help you in understanding the concepts more deeply.
Yeah.
The goal is to understand concepts and these live sessions. Like we will already put in so much effort in explaining you all each and every concept again in depth. So then take advantage of the session to solve your problem. Um,
Meet next week. If you don't have any doubts, you can leave or
okay, thanks everyone. Bye.
thanks, Nidhi.
Bye.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for your guidance.
Thanks for joining.
Thanks for joining.